Abusive men are not created by nagging wives and critical girlfriends or moms who neglected or ignored him. And no, he didn't become abusive because his girlfriend emasculated him or his ex-wife didn't support him the right way or his mom didn't teach him how to love. He's abusive because he wants to be, because it gets him what he wants, because it works for him. And blaming women for men's violence and cruelty and manipulation and control is not just wrong, it's dangerous. I'm Lisa Sonni. I'm a toxic and abusive relationship expert, author, and creator of the Break and Rebuild method inside the Trauma Bond Recovery course. I make videos that don't coddle abusers and that don't sugarcoat healing. So if you're ready for real talk that actually makes things click, hit subscribe. You're not going to hear this in couples counseling or on a TED Talk, but you'll hear it here. Let's get into it, because every day I see women being blamed for men's choices in sneaky, slippery ways that almost sound reasonable if you haven't lived it. She triggered him. She emasculated him. She was too cold, too controlling, too critical. She was too emotional, too sexual, not sexual enough. She provoked him. She knew what she was getting into when she married him. She should have known better. And the classic, well, he was a good guy until he met her. That sounds like my abuser's mom. It's as if you waved some magic, toxic wand that just turned him into an abuser. As if your personality is what made him scream or cheat or lie or insult you, humiliate you, isolate you, gaslight you. And they say women are the ones not taking accountability. But let me be clear. No woman, no girlfriend, no wife, no mother is responsible for a grown man's choice to cause harm. And every time I say this, there is some woman in the comments going, no, but my abuser's mom. Let me stop you right there. Listen to this video. The world is hell bent on making you think that women are to blame. Other women say it, right? Because we've all been taught that men, they're just inherently good. And if they do something bad, well, it must have been a woman that failed them. Get over yourself. You've probably heard this, right? Well, his mom coddled him. She created this. His mom never made him take accountability. Or this weaponized sort of trauma-informed version, right? He was wounded in childhood. It's trauma. He's reacting from pain. And who raises children? Moms. Yeah, okay, so if trauma was the cause of abuse, then every traumatized person would be abusive. And they're not. You know who gets abused the most? People with trauma. So if trauma made someone abusive, the math would never work. But that myth, right? Hurt people, it is so much easier to believe than just some people will just want control. Now, I have a recent podcast episode on this with Dr. Peter Salerno on Real Talk with Lisa Sonni, Relationships Uncensored. You need to hear this episode because we talk about it in depth. I want to say this clearly. Abuse is not a reaction, it's a strategy. Abusive men don't just fly into these uncontrollable rages. They weaponize their anger. And in fact, they actually turn it off when it serves them, right? They don't scream at their boss. They don't manipulate their coworkers. They don't lose their mind on you in the produce section at the grocery store or belittle their friends. Oh, no. Babe, they save that for you because you're the one that he wants to dominate. And it's not because you failed him. It's because you stayed, you cared, you listened. That's who they want power over. You, their romantic partner. Yeah, sometimes narcissism is present in abusers, but even that is completely misunderstood. People think that narcissists are these like fragile little boys inside. Clinically, that's actually not the story at all. Narcissistic traits are more linked to being overvalued and indulged than to being abused or neglected. There's actually a 2015 study by Brummelman, and he found that narcissism was associated with parental overvaluation, not trauma. So even narcissism, when it's part of the picture, it doesn't come from wounds and trauma. It comes from entitlement. From being told that you're better than other people, that rules don't apply to you, and basically anybody who challenges you, they're the enemy. Even Dr. Gregory Lester, a personality disorder expert, has said that narcissists are not created by trauma. They're formed when limits are never set and egos are never checked. Dr. Peter Salerno, Dr. Carrie McAvoy, Dr. George Simon, none of these experts believe that it comes from trauma, and they've got the studies to back it up. You have no idea. There is a huge genetic component. Now, I always want to say, don't confuse genetic with hereditary, but there's a huge genetic component. Lundy Bancroft, everybody knows him, right? Why does he do that? His most famous book. He says that calling abusers narcissists often ends up just putting the blame back on women. Because if he's a narcissist, you were too cold, too distant, too critical, you wounded him. It turns into something that you triggered, not something he chose. Because who gives men this kind of trauma? Who raised them? Moms. So it's just another way for people to blame mothers. The truth is, abuse isn't something that you can trigger. It's something that he chooses. And that's the whole trap, right? And I always want to say, like, can I just get something straight here? When a man becomes a CEO, right? Oh, he's so ambitious. We praise that. But when he becomes abusive, we blame his mom because she didn't, make him wash the dishes? That's delusion, not accountability. So let's talk about what does create abusive men, right? Because that's what everybody wants to know. What can we do? How does this happen? It's not their ex. It's not their mom. It's not their baby mama. It's not the bossy wife. It's not the woman who told them no. It's the systems. It's the patriarchy, a belief system that says women exist to serve men and that men deserve power and sex and admiration and obedience just for showing up, right? It is entitlement. The idea that their pain matters more than yours is wild, but there it is, right? Their anger is righteous. Your boundaries, that's disrespectful. It's male socialization, right? Boys are taught to see vulnerability as weakness. Dominance is what's masculine, and then emotions are something that you have to shut down, but also you need to punish it in others, right? It's the locker room, the group chat, the podcast, the older brother, the coach, the friend who says, you can't let her talk to you like that, dude. It's the system that rarely, if ever, punishes male violence, that lets them charm the court, gaslight the therapist, and walk away scot-free and clean while you're trying to figure out how the hell this all went so wrong. He wrote an article that would blow your socks off, and I'm going to link it in the description because you got to read this. It gives them power, control, sex, emotional labor, somebody to dominate and somebody to blame. And when asked directly why they do it, when he asked them, they admit it because it works. Because they benefit from it. They named the benefits. Read the article. None of this is around confusion. It's actually pretty calculated. Abuse isn't a last resort. It's a first strategy. Chuck Derry actually describes abusiveness and anger as a tool. It's not something that they can't control. It's actually incredibly controlled. Read Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft if you haven't already. The rewards for being abusive, right? The social, emotional, financial rewards, it's consequence free, typically, to be an abusive man, right? Even therapy culture often plays right into it. I had the worst experiences in couples counseling, right? You're told to regulate better, heal your triggers, hold space for his pain, communicate in a more respectful way. But you were never supposed to be his therapist or his punching bag, right? Healing doesn't mean letting someone hurt you just because they have a story behind it. Every time we say stupid things like, well, she provoked him, or what did she expect? We're handing that guy another excuse. Every time we say, well, his mom didn't teach him, and I see that in my comment sections constantly, we are saying that grown men don't need to learn self-control or empathy or respect. Every time we say something stupid, like, she should have picked better, we're ignoring the fact that abusers don't come with warning labels. Women are not human lie detectors. And we're supposed to not assume that it's all men, and yet men tell us constantly that it's all men. Men lie. Oh, all men? Abusers, especially the covert ones, they come with charm. They're the nicest guys you'll ever meet. They come with love bombing and false vulnerability and promises that they have no intention of keeping. So until we stop asking, what did she do to deserve it? And we start asking, why is he allowed to do this? Nothing's going to change, right? We really just can't keep handing women the responsibility for men's behavior. Because you know who benefits when we do? I'll give you a guess. It's men. Men who abuse. Men who watch other men abuse and say absolutely nothing, right? These men who are like whining about accountability, but they scream when it costs them something, right? Men who call it toxic when we name the problem. Men who call women like me a misandrist for merely saying what men do in real life out loud. Is it really hating men if I'm just saying what you do in real life? I don't think so, right? That's not what misandry is. So they'll happily call it toxic when we name the problem, right? But they'll call it growth when they take credit for stopping being abusive. If you want men to be seen as strong and competent and capable, you have to hold them responsible. You can't keep blaming women for the way that men choose to treat them. You need to see this as a choice. And I know this makes people uncomfortable, right? It's easier to blame the victim than to just dismantle this massive system. Comfort doesn't lead to change. The truth does. And here's the truth. Women's behavior does not create abusive men. Men choose it and men benefit from it. And men need to be held accountable for it. So if you're done being blamed for somebody else's cruelty, if you want to stop carrying all this heavy shame that was never yours, I want you to join the Break and Rebuild method inside the Trauma Bond Recovery course. We dig into the real reasons that abuse happens, but more specifically, you learn how to break free, how to rebuild from a place of truth. The entire program is centered on how you can shift and stop needing validation and build real skills like emotional regulation. It's not just some other video that you can see online that just tells you why he does what he does. This is the real shift, the real change. You're not going to carry the blame anymore because it was never yours. Stop letting men off the hook. I don't know about you, but I actually think pretty highly of men, and it's why I care so much that they're held accountable and that they change, because I know that they are capable. Men, not narcissists. I'm talking about men, okay? This is something that makes this really personal for me. The man that I was with, the abusive man, he would constantly complain about his mom, right? He would call her names, the B word, the C word. He would tell me the most wild stories about how she raised him. The violence, cheating, abuse, all kinds of things. And I thought this entire time, like, she created this, right? If she had just raised him differently, then maybe he wouldn't be such a mean POS, right? Now, she enabled him. She does. She still does. I'm not letting her off the hook for that. But she didn't make him who he became. He watched his father abuse his mother. He saw what power looked like in that house. He saw how easily a man could control a woman, blame her, silence her, and still be respected. He didn't just learn it from her. He learned from him. And it's not always about the father, but I swear we're always willing to talk about what the mothers do. We never talk about how they learn it from their fathers. Abusive men learn abusiveness from other men. He learned it from movies, media, uncles, pastors, brothers, cousins. It was men. Men showed him how to be a man, right? And I had to learn this the hardest way. I couldn't keep blaming his mom for what he chose to become. He's responsible for himself. Your abuser is responsible for himself. I have this mantra. He is responsible for his own actions and his own behaviors, and he is living the consequences of the decisions that he makes. And I don't know why I do this with my hands, but I feel like you need to. He is responsible for himself. Patriarchy isn't some abstract concept. It's not something that people can deny, even though I see you guys deny it all the time. Patriarchy is personal. It's literally what makes your dad say, all men raise their voices sometimes, or it makes very big, important people say stupid things like boys will be boys. It's what makes your therapist suggest that you should have set boundaries better instead of asking why you were the only one trying. It's what makes the women in your life go quiet when you tell them the truth, because they've lived it too, and they've learned to survive by staying quiet. It's what makes him believe that being obeyed is the same thing as being respected, and it's not. You don't help somebody heal by being their emotional punching bag. You literally just teach them that you can keep hurting them without losing you. Here's how you know that he's in control, right? He doesn't talk to his boss that way. He doesn't scream in the grocery store or the gas station. He doesn't throw things in front of the police. He waits until it's just you, until the door's closed, until you're already doubting yourself. And that's not a man who can help it. That's a man who knows exactly when to turn it on and exactly when to hide it. So hit subscribe and join the conversation. Leave a comment and share this video with someone who needs to hear it.